countdown for this episode because I needed to capture the energy that Templar and I have rolling into this one. Welcome to the end of season 2 of The Last of Us, Templar. How do you feel today?
I mean, you did a short countdown because you just couldn't wait to get to this. I mean, we just couldn't wait to get started, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm here. We're recording an episode of the Roundtable. It's going to be good.
I mean, it's good I get to spend time with my friend Templar. It's a bad thing that we have to talk about this travesty of a show. And right off the bat, like, there's going to be spoilers for The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 7. There's going to be light spoilers for the video game as well, so be prepared for that.
Sure.
And I think the spoiler for how I feel about this show is it sucks. And that's really not it. Templar and I have a running Discord DM, and a lot of times it's just like scheduling, like, hey, when do you want to record? And sometimes it devolves into funny stuff. And I watched this episode a couple of days late. Templar had already watched it before me. I was still feasting on Andor season 2, which, if you have not caught our retrospective and kind of our send off, you can go back and watch that from this previous week. That's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/LuxDigitalChurch. There's also links, you know, it's friggin' YouTube, figure it out. But I messaged him immediately after I watched it, and this is what our Discord DM said. And so I'm thinking about titling the episode one of these. I actually think I have a different title in mind, but The Last of Us Season 2, plot holes so big you can drive a truck through them. The Last of Us Season 2, man, this sucks. The Last of Us Season 2, maybe just go watch Matlock or something. Templar then responded with The Last of Us Season 2, maybe just see if reruns of Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman are on. I then responded, The Last of Us Season 2, trust me, just go stare at a wall for an hour. And then Templar responded, and this was the best one, this was the capper. The Last of Us Season 2, makes me want to revisit Rings of Power. That one tickled me very well. Because we're just going to get into it. I think this episode, I think this season in particular has been something of like a brain drain on me. And I don't mean to sound so harsh. But like season 1 was good. It was like a solid 7, maybe even a 7.5.
It had high moments. Its highs were pretty high. Its
highs were pretty high. Its lows were still kind of low, but I think I can think of problems. I think I can think of only maybe one high throughout this entire episode, or throughout this entire season. The battle for Jackson in episode 2 was fun. I will say that.
Good, yep. Well executed.
Well, that part was well executed. Obviously, we know about the death of Joel. There's pacing things that happen all over the place. There is plot holes so big you can drive trucks through them. And the thing that I don't understand is why they had a second shot at this. They had a second shot at telling a story, and the story itself is pretty brutal. Like it's just there's no two ways about it. This is a brutal story. It is kind of nihilistic in a way that is almost uncomfortable, and maybe not even nihilistic. Maybe it's just more overall pessimistic about humanity, and I think that's partially it. It's almost like a 16-year-old boy who just got yelled at by his dad is like in his room banging this one out on a laptop. That's like what this one feels like. That's what this entire season has felt like. Just like a trope, just one after another of like, humans are the real monster here because you barely see any zombies, guys, because those were supposed to be the monsters, but guess what? The monster lives inside the fall. Ha ha ha. Okay. And I don't know, before we walk through the episode, kind of the plot beats and things like that, what were your thoughts kind of coming out of this episode so far? Oh, well, let's start with going into it. Like, what were your thoughts going into it? And then we can work our way through it.
Sure. I mean, just as a side note, I don't know if we have enough shows yet, but the idea of comparing it to Rings of Power, we should do like a power ranking or like a tier ranking of like all of the shows we've watched in the history of the Roundtable.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
I don't know if we have enough yet, but we probably are pretty close. Maybe we need a couple more, but that's something to stash for a little while.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Because I don't know if where I would put this compared to Rings of Power. It's tough. Rings of Power bothered me more, but like it might be a better show.
Well, season 1 is not.
I didn't watch season 2. I was good on all that. Like I only watched season 1 of Rings of Power. I'm good.
Yeah.
Anyway, another later down the road, we got to add a couple more shows to our bank first,
Yes.
and then maybe we'll break that out.
Yeah.
What did I think going into it? Well, we talked about it. I mean, that episode, I guess, came out a little while ago now, but episode 6 was very good. It was a strong episode, certainly by the standards of this season of television, but also just in general. I think episode 6 was quite good. Having Joel there, the flashbacks, and having more of their kind of father-daughter kind of relationship, a lot of good emotional moments. A good example of why you have Pedro Pascal, despite people maybe railing against him or being tired of him or whatever. When he's, when they're having that conversation on that porch, you see why you cast Pedro Pascal, because he's a great actor and he absolutely nailed that. And one thing I'll say here, because I've watched some criticism of this show, and certainly we haven't been kind to this show. I've seen a lot of criticism specifically of Bella Ramsey that she's like a bad actress or something, though, and I don't really agree.
Agreed.
Like, I think she did a good job in episode 6. Like, I think she was pretty good. Was Pedro better than her in that scene? Yeah, I would say so. I just think she's he's older. He has more experience for sure. Yeah. I just think she was kind of set up to fail with this, and like, yes. I'm gonna, some of it I'm sure is on her. But like, I've just seen a lot in the discourse of just kind of really putting her down specifically. And I don't know if I'm not into that idea. Like, I think she was very good in Game of Thrones. And I think she has moments in season 1 when she's quite good. And I think the problem is more with the characterization and how she's being asked to play it in the writing. And maybe she was involved in that. So maybe part of it's on her. But like, I don't like that discourse of like putting her down as an actress, because I don't really think that's fair, and I don't really think it's right. I think people are just generally lashing out at the show in a way that's maybe not.
Agreed.
I'm not into anyway.
Agreed.
So outside of that, going into episode 7, my expectations were fairly low because, I mean, outside of the stuff with Joel, it hasn't been great. And episode 6 was a flashback, so I knew it's like, okay, well, now we're going to be back with them. And I knew there would be some kind of confrontation. The best I was hoping for was like maybe there would be some action that would be okay. Like maybe there would be some showdown or some nice set piece or something that would be kind of cool. There wasn't, and that's unfortunate. But that was kind of my hope, that maybe there would be some maybe we'd see more of the, WLF or and we'd get a cool set piece or something, and we didn't, so I was kind of disappointed in that way. But my expectations were low because, I mean, outside of the stuff that has had Joel in it, it just has been pretty poor. So
yeah, let's start from the top. Just let's hit the main story beats. We see at the very kind of beginning of the episode, we finally see what happened to Dina. She's got an arrow through her leg in true Skyrim fashion.
No more adventuring for Dina.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. She's also preggers, so there's that. And she alludes to that with Jesse, but she doesn't ever outright tell Jesse, of course, because we have that, because that's always going to be a thing. And pregnancy comes up again in the episode a little bit later in a more brutal fashion, and we'll talk about that and reveal there in a second. But we get Jesse pushing an arrow out through her, essentially pouring whiskey over it and just pushing an arrow out of her leg, which I don't know that that's how that works, but okay. I'm not a doctor. And
in a better show, I would accept it. So I'll live with it here.
Yeah. That's like the least of my qualms about this episode.
Sure.
Jesse throughout this entire thing is portrayed as Captain Wyoming, and we're going to get to that. I've got thoughts about that as well. We then see Ellie finally showing back up after her confrontation with Nora. In the game, she had fallen through the floor with Nora. In this one, she had just kind of escaped down a elevator shaft, and so her being all torn up on her back doesn't make sense in the show. Again, minor squabbles with everything. And in the game, I will say this is a thing that bugged me in the game. Ellie's like pretty shaken up. Like there's like almost like a PTSD moment of I did that to Nora, and she's got this like duality. Bella Ramsey, again, not given a whole lot to deal with because they are so rushed, because the pacing has been all over the place in this. She doesn't really have a whole lot to deal with, and so she's just kind of like blank, and that's fine. Like I get it, but she goes from blank to more blank, telling Dina what happened. Dina kind of blank as well. Like I don't know. It was like a really, that scene in the game is very pivotal. And Isabella Merced and Bella Ramsey, I mean, they do the best with what they got. I agree with you. Like it's not on them. It's on Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. Like they're bad at being showrunners. So we then get this kind of Jesse needs to go hook up with Tommy. And so they run to the bookstore. On the way to the bookstore for the rendezvous, we get a little bit more about Captain Wyoming. We see the WLF taking over one of the Seraphites, like this little kid. Ellie, of course, she's got a pistol and she wants to go fight 6 fully armed dudes because why the heck not? Jesse is better about that. They finally get to the bookstore, and then we flash to the WLF leadership, and the WLF leadership has Isaac and the mom, whose name is something I can't remember. Elise. I'm looking up here at my notes. How they're talking about planning this big assault on the Seraphite Island, and also they drop the little thing of how they can't find Abby, and that's something that will actually feed into the next season. Because there's some stuff that happens with Abby that might actually be interesting, possibly, if they play it properly. I don't have any hope that they're going to play it properly, but they could. And so then we flash back to the bookstore and Captain Wyoming talking to Ellie and kind of saying like how he's the good guy and how he didn't vote for her and all this other stuff, which is a cool reveal. And his kind of thinking about it and him calling her selfish, and which she is. And then all of a sudden they hear the sniper, and so they have to run off and go get Tommy. I'm going to stop right here after this point that I'm going to make, and I'm going to come back to you. But they're on the rooftop, and Ellie, it's like she had forgotten her mission entirely. It's like she had chosen the wrong quest line on her journal in her map area, and all of a sudden looked over and saw the whale in the aquarium and was like, oh, I got to go there. And it was stupid. Like, this has been her thing the whole time. How all of a sudden is she like, oh, wait a minute, that's the thing I got to go do, and then rushes off. I'm going to stop there because then we actually, no, I'm not going to stop there because I have one more freaking gripe. So she finally goes and she steals this boat. Great. Ellie knows how to pilot a motorboat. Fantastic. Then there's this scene that literally makes no sense. It's not in the game. There is no bearing on anything that happens here other than to maybe waste time. I don't know. She shipwrecks. She gets like the perfect storm wave with Mark Wahlberg and whomever else. The perfect storm wave like washes her out of the boat. She washes up. Of course, she washes up on the beach. Of course, right next to the Seraphite boy. And of course, they want to strangle and gut her. And then the horn blows and scene. I'm going to stop there. What are your thoughts so far up till this point? Because then we get to the meat of it.
Yeah, and then the boat's fine, and she gets it going again, and then
right.
drives away. Which is
right.
All of that is ridiculous. But that is ridiculous that out of that wave that the boat would just be there and fine, and the motor would start fine, and like
right.
whatever. Anyway, whatever. Right. Anyone who's ever dealt with outboard motors. That's not how that's not.
No, you breathe on them wrong and they don't start.
That's not how any of that works.
No.
But what did I think? I mean, my biggest problem early in the episode was the conversation that they have about killing the one woman. I forget her name. They're in the basement and she kills her. And when Ellie gets back, they have this conversation. She has this conversation with Dina where she, I think, finally
Nora.
reveals...
Nora, Abby's friend. Yes, Nora.
Kills Nora. She finally reveals to Dina why they were after Joel and what Joel did. And I hate that scene because they really use it to be like, to manipulate things to say, oh, this huge reveal. And now it's like, now they want to go back. Like Dina's like, we need to go back. And like, I guess, I guess Ellie's going to like, let it go. And just like Abby gets away or whatever. But none of that makes any sense because that conversation would have already happened.
Right.
If the city that they traveled to had been 2 days away, I can believe that conversation hadn't happened until then. And we talked about this. Seattle is almost 900 miles from Jackson, Wyoming. They would have traveled even on horseback at a relatively even pace that you're going to have to take for that long. You're talking like 3 weeks to a month, assuming some time to like stop and like you're not going to be moving constantly and like, so you traveled. It was like a month-long trip to get here, probably.
Yeah.
It never came up. Never once in a month of travel. And I realize this might seem like a small thing, but to me, this is a gigantic hole in this emotional moment that they want to have.
Yep.
Because like, again, if it was like a couple days away, you could sell me on that she was just so angry, just so driven by vengeance that like they never stopped to there was never a moment of sort of pause or anything where they actually had a kind of conversation. But we saw part of the trip there, like they're fooling around and like seemingly not having that terrible of a time on their way to Seattle. Also, again, so it's a month away to get there. I do not believe for a second that in a month of travel, never once did Dina say like, hey, why did these people travel from Seattle? And they didn't have a horse. They were on foot. So why would they have traveled? Now we're talking 30 to maybe 40 days on foot through the apocalypse, because remember, there are zombies and stuff. I mean, you wouldn't know it from watching this show.
No, the zombies are just they're just a plot mechanic. That's all.
Apparently, that's what it seems like. You can just wander around in the middle of the day outside. You can just go into random buildings. There's no real threat anymore, seemingly. So they traveled for like 30 to 45 days in the apocalypse on foot, specifically just to kill Joel. Nobody does that. Like, the motivation that you would need to travel that far on foot in the environment, risking getting killed by bandits or running into random people or getting infected, you would have to have an extraordinary good reason to do that.
Yep.
And so at no point in the month travel to Seattle did they ever have a conversation of, like, really at no point in there was ever any kind of emotional moment where she told her why they came after Joel. Yep. I don't believe that. Yep. So that entire moment is undone for me by having this set in Seattle. And like, I get that that's a weird complaint, but like, that's all I could think of when I saw that moment is like, they would have had this conversation already. I don't buy that this is the first time they're having this conversation. They would have known. She would have told Dina why they came after Joel and what he had did. There's no way for a month-long travel they wouldn't have had that conversation. So the whole episode is kind of just undone there, because presumably then Dina would have been like, well, okay, and then seemingly she was kind of like, well, maybe that was sort of justified then, and you could see that it would be, and then it would all just be undone. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. What did I think about the rest of it up until that point? Yeah, it's just like, I don't know what they think when they're writing this. I don't know if they think that Ellie's coming across as sort of like complex or deep, but she's just coming across as selfish and annoying, and like everything is about her. It's only about her mission, her suffering, like, and that there is nothing else at all. Like, she just comes across terribly. She doesn't come across as someone you want to root for. And maybe that's part of the point, but I have to at least like be on board somewhat with this character to see this through. In a video game, you don't really have to be on board as much with the character. Like, I can accept in a video game that's sort of like, well, we're just out for revenge. She's overwhelmed. It's whatever. But like, they haven't portrayed her that way. Like, sometimes she's angry and vengeful and all she cares about is getting revenge. And then sometimes she's like her and Dina are just like chatting it up and having a good time and like chilling and, you know, I'm going to be a dad and like all that stuff. And it's just like, pick a lane, pick a tone. Like, and I get someone's not going to be one thing 100% of the time, but it just doesn't mesh to me at all in terms of what Ellie is. If she was just angry and driven by vengeance, then fine. But then that isn't what they've portrayed. So like sometimes she is and sometimes she isn't. And like in this episode, she was ready to give it up. If Tommy had been there, they would have just given it up and left. Like apparently that would have been it. But then she goes out and then she sees her and then it's like, oh, now all of a sudden she changed her mind. And then she refuses to help Tommy when Jesse and Tommy literally came and rescued them. She would have been dead multiple times without them, but she refuses to go help him.
Yep.
And it's like, she just comes across terribly. You can't do that in a show, I don't think, and have the character be a character I want. Like, I need to be one of a couple things. I either need to like the character, but that's not essential. I don't have to like the character, but that's one way to keep me connected. I have to agree with the character's sort of motivations, or so even if I don't like them, I kind of get what they're doing. They're just maybe not going about it in the right way. They haven't picked a lane, so I don't have that, because one moment she's ready to leave and then one moment she's on this quest for vengeance. So I don't know what to make of that. And then, or I just have to have some sort of like maybe connection to the characters around her or believe enough in like what's going on. I don't know, but like there's nothing for me to connect to with Ellie. And just like every conversation makes her more unlikable. And I think in a video game, you can pull that off. In a show, it's tough because there's nothing for me to latch on to here. And I like Jesse, but he didn't make it out of this episode.
Nope.
I don't really like Dina. She's fine. It's whatever. So there's nothing for me here. So what did I think up until that point? That she just came across poorly. She was selfish. Didn't really make any sense. And I agree. I don't know why they had the scene with the Seraphites. Like the way the show had been kind of going was sort of making it seem like they were kind of, in some ways, at least portraying the Seraphites as like, I mean, there are no good guys, but like it was kind of painting the WLF as being the like real villains, and the Seraphites were kind of, they've certainly done bad things, and we've seen like, again, there's no heroes in this world, but like, you know, maybe they're the more sympathetic. Yeah, like they're the ones kind of being hunted, and then maybe they're a little more sympathetic. But then that scene goes a long way to dispel that. That they would just kill this random person who washed up on their shore, and they didn't know about the boat attack on their village yet. So it's not like they've realized that after. So it's not like they had a reason to believe. Like they didn't think she was connected with that or something. They just, I guess, kill anyone who's not them. Like I don't.
Right, and then they blame it on like an 8-year-old who gives her the thumbs down or something.
Yeah, and yeah, so you're deferring to the kid to say whether someone should die or not. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't into it. She comes across poorly. Basically, everything Jesse says is right and makes sense, and everything Ellie says is like wrong and terrible, and she comes across really bad. And then the scene with the wave is ridiculous. Perfect Storm is a pretty solid movie, though. So, you know, shout out George Clooney and shout out George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg and John C. Reilly.
Yes.
And the cast in that movie is kind of stacked, actually.
Yeah. Good movie.
Anyway. So, yeah, not great up until that point.
We're going to move on. One thing right before I get to that, though. The way of modern prestige television in the past probably 10 years or so has been a show releases and then there's like an official podcast that goes along with it. And
Talking Dead or something.
Yeah, Talking Dead. I mean, Lost kind of did it. Lost was one of the first ones that really did it, but it caught on with like The Leftovers, with Talking Dead, and you know, everything, all like the shows that they want to think are huge, especially HBO shows. They release like a podcast episode. Sure. And in the podcast episode for this one of the showrunners, I can't remember who it was probably Mason. If I had to know, it might have been Druckmann, was talking about the thing that you were just talking about with Ellie, of like, it had looked like she was going to turn a corner and go, but they didn't play it properly. And what he said was, vengeance is like an addiction for her. And so when it's dangled in front of her, she cannot do anything except run at it, which on the surface, I understand. I get, sure, I get what I get that, but that doesn't translate unless you listen to an official podcast. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So that means that you shot it poorly or you scripted it poorly. If it doesn't come through in your story and I need to have, secondary information to understand what the heck you were trying to tell me, it's a bad story. Like that's how it is. There's no two ways about it. So it's almost like they were adding this entire season of the podcast, the official podcast, has been like insult to injury, because they're trying to like retcon all these things that they shot 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, which we're going to get to timing in just a second. So like, I don't know. I hate that. We're going to flash now to kind of the most gruesome thing that happens. Ellie finally winds up at the aquarium, finds Joel what the heck is his name? Owen and Mel. And in the game, how this happens is Ellie says, "No, I'm not going to kill you because I'm not like you," which I think is a good line. That's a very good line. Because Owen says, we're dead anyway. And she says, "No, I'm not going to kill you because I'm not like you." Great line. Delivered in an okay fashion. And then Owen proceeds to draw down and Ellie shoots, and the bullet in the game in the show whizzes through Owen and hits Mel. In the game, how this portrays is Mel attacks Ellie, and Ellie is forced to stab her with the knife. And it's only while she's bleeding out and Owen is bleeding out that he says she's pregnant. And then the reveal of you pull back the thing and you see the pregnant, but she's already dead at the time. In the show, they made it so much more traumatic, where the bullet goes through both of them. Fine. She's got a revolver. Like, I can definitely believe that those things are designed to stop horses. Like, that's a strong gun. Goes through both of them. Owen ends up like bleeding out, which, yes, of course. But then this scene unfolds where Mel, who's like, that's Dr. Quinn right there. Dr. Quinn is like, "Okay, you can operate on me to take the baby out." And then she dies, and Ellie is left like traumatized, which I would be too. Like, holy crap. Pause there, because up to like that scene right there is like, holy crap, that was brutal. Like that was almost traumatic for me as a dad who has lost a child, who, not like my kid hasn't died, but my wife has miscarried from my child. Like, that's brutal. That is brutal to watch. But then they could have done so much better stuff right there. Like, oh my gosh, it could have been great. But how the hell does Tommy get there? Where the hell does this guy come from? Because Tommy just rocks up like he had a homing beacon. And like, what are we doing? What are we doing with this show?
I mean, I guess Jesse knew where they were going, where she was headed. But yeah, how they got there in time.
So stupid.
Even with her detour through the whatever crash landing on the island or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's sort of teleporting people where you need them to be. It's like, I mean, it is speaking of rings of power, like, just teleport people where you need them. Don't It's fine. Don't worry about geography. It's
a yada 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 hand wave.
They're there. They showed up. It's fine. It's magic. Whatever. It makes no difference.
It's called Deus Ex Machina. Like, it's the god outside of the machine. Like, it's fine. Whatever. Sure. Like, it ruined the scene for me. Like, there was an emotional scene. You took me down a path. I was feeling something, and then Tommy rolls up, and then all of a sudden we're back in a theater. Like, man,
that scene is too much, though. That scene is too much for me. It's like, there's enough trauma here. You don't need to kind of make it even more. Like, it just feels like it's like a hat on a hat on a hat. It's like, we get it, man. It's sad. We get it. It's tough. Like, we understand that, like, the vengeance is not fulfilling. Like, we understand, like, I don't need you to keep beating me in the head with this idea. Like, I get it. So it just seemed like it was kind of too much for me. It's like, you shoot one, but you accidentally shoot them both. And it's like, she's pregnant. It's like, of course she is. And like, cut the baby out. It's like, that, please don't try that. Like, I don't want to see that I do not want to see that happen in this episode. Like, it's like, all right, man. Wow. All right. You just dialed everything up to 12 in a way that I think is not necessary. We understand it's sad in a depressing world and bad things happen to people. Like, we get it. So that scene was like, it is fairly effective, but it's kind of too much. And
sure,
also it's kind of not really how bullets work, because it's like it was almost like an anime moment where you see nothing, and there's not a mark on her neck, and then all of a sudden it like the line like appears, and then she starts bleeding out. And I'm like, that's not how bullets work. But like
in a 50 cal or whatever it was, like
it doesn't matter. Like you would see a wound. It doesn't matter. That's like the least of this episode's problems, as you said. Yes. So yeah, then they go back from there. They rescue her, I guess. They go back and they're getting ready to leave. You get a nice heart-to-heart, I guess, between Jesse and Ellie. Then you hear some screaming. They go out. Jesse gets domed, just down, and then Abby's there somehow. Magic? I don't know.
Magic.
I have no idea how she found them. I mean, I guess we're going to see in the next episode or next season, because they at the end... So they kills Jesse, and then there's a shot at the end. I mean, Ellie's not dead, so I have to assume that's going to be like Dina or someone shooting at Abby, and that they're going to get separated again or something. I don't know how it happens in the game. So
I could tell you what happens in the game, and I'll tell you in a second, but keep going.
And then we get the flashback to day one, which I guess is their first day in Seattle, I think. Like, I don't think that's a flashback to like before they went after Joel. No. I think that's like the first day that they were there in Seattle. So yes. I guess we're going to see how Abby knew where they were. Like maybe she had been tracking them or something, although how would they know? And like, I feel like not enough had really happened to like for her to specifically go after them. Like, I mean, she killed one person, I guess, in the hospital, like one of her friends or whatever, but I don't know. Anyway, so she tracks them down in the middle of a thunderstorm. So she had to know they were already there, because there's no way she's just following them in that kind of like storm. I wouldn't believe that. Also, it's like the one time they don't bar the door when they get back there is the one time that the plot needs them to not bar the door when they get back there. So I always love plot convenience. Anyway, I don't know. It's fine. Like, whatever.
It's not fine.
No, but like, whatever. I don't care. You know, Jesse dies. He was the best character that was left. So that sucks for all of us, really, because now we're going to have to watch. But now the next season's going to be mostly Abby, probably. So maybe I'll get some of my wish, and maybe some of the stuff with the WLF will actually be cool. I don't know.
Well, so in the game, the second half of the second game is actually the better part of the game, because Abby is kind of Rambo. She's portrayed in this as a little bit more psychopathic, but in the game, she is legit like a Rambo. And what ends up happening is in between day 1 and day 3, there's some stuff that happens with Seraphites, and I can spoil it if you want as to the games, or I can just let you experience it. It's completely your call. But there's some stuff that happens.
The episode's done. We'll leave it for now, because there may be, in theory, some people who want to see season 3. So.
100%. That's completely fine with me. There's some stuff that happens with her and the Seraphites, and the Seraphites end up allowing her to figure out how to get into the theater, I guess. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
But my biggest, well, not biggest, another gripe I'm going to have about this is that, so like whenever Game of Thrones, and I know we're talking about, or the screen is showing Game of Thrones right now, Game of Thrones would end on like a cliffhanger, but Game of Thrones was on a pretty set schedule, and it would come back every year, every 18 months or so. Right now, we're not going to get it until what, 2027 maybe, and we're in 2025. So what are we looking at? 2.5 years. So I know what happens after the Abby shot, and I kind of know which way they're going to play it. Well, I hope I understand which way they're going to play it, because it's the way that the game goes, and it's the way that you get back to Abby. What I don't understand is why they had to end here, and why they didn't just do with the Andor thing of like, give me a long season 2 and call it right there. Like, if you want to do the whole game, awesome. I understand you got to spend HU's money. I understand like all those things, but like you're sacrificing the craft of television making, you know, of being an actual cinematographer. You're sacrificing that for money. You are essentially selling out. Now, this story kind of sucks anyway, and the story was panned, at least the first half of the story was panned by everybody that played the game. And most people didn't get to the second part of the story and experience like, okay, this part of the story is not bad. The ending kind of sucks, but like the Abby part is actually probably, like I said, the best part of the game, which is saying something. I don't understand why you couldn't just give me like 12 episodes right now. Give me a 12 episode season 2 and we are done with game. Like, just end. Instead, now you have pissed a bunch of people off. You have pissed all of your quote unquote fans off. And not only the people that actually liked the game, but you have taken everybody from season 1 on this now 4-year journey that is going to be another 2 to 3 years. And I don't know. Are they just hoping that people are going to, like, the anger is just going to go away? Because there's like a lot of anger. Are they just hoping that the vitriol is going to evaporate? Or are they banking on the fact that, like, no, we're so, like, the story is like one to tell and people are going to want to stick around? Because people that didn't play the game, they're not going to stick around. They might watch episode 1 of season 3. Like, oh yeah, there's that show. I was angry about it. Maybe I'll give it a shot. They'll watch half of it and go like, nah, this isn't it, and out. Like, I don't understand the thought process. I guess that's where I'm landing.
All right, well, apparently they're doing 4 seasons, so we're talking like 6 years,
10 years,
7 or 8 years until we finally get the end of this.
I'm going to be in retirement by the time that it finally ends.
Yeah, Bella Ramsey will be like 45, still playing, like
AARP.
19, 20 years old. Well, I don't know. They just didn't accept any of the criticism of the game because they had an opportunity to do something different. They didn't have to just do the game again. They could have changed things. They could have taken feedback. And there was a lot of feedback, even from people who defended the second game. There was a lot of criticism of it.
True.
And there's some people who are saying, whatever, IGN called it a masterpiece, the best game of all time, doesn't matter.
I mean, I can give IGN $10 and they can call this podcast the best podcast in the world. It's fine.
We should probably do that.
Spoiler.
So there's people who did unabashedly kind of love the second game, but it was a lot of criticism, and I guess they just refused to accept it. I guess they just wanted to do the same thing again and expect different results. I don't really know. And I guess the third season is going to happen. The ratings dropped significantly
by half
during this season.
Yeah.
So if I'm HBO, I don't know if I'm writing that check. Like, I assume they haven't started filming it yet. So if they haven't, then I don't know if I would write that check. I mean, clearly the direction they were going, but now you're committed. So like, now it's too late to change anything. So you're not going to be able to drastically change Abby's story, probably, because you've committed to all the major events and stuff anyway. So I imagine
here we go. HBO renewed the show for a third season before season 2 even premiered. Woof. That's tough.
Yeah. And well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense because, I mean, season 1 was good. It makes sense they would have done that. So obviously they must have seen enough of season 2 that they had liked it, I guess. Oof. So maybe they don't care, but I don't know. But given the viewership decline, it could be like a Rings of Power situation. Like, going into the next season, I just don't know if they're going to retain that much of the audience, right? So yeah, it's tough. I don't know. As you say, though, like, season 3, at least in some way, like, I don't really care about Abby as a character, but again, like, the world is interesting enough to me that if they did some stuff with that, I might actually
show me Catherine O'Hara again.
Well, I don't think we're going to see her again, but I mean, because we're going to get the WLF and we're going to get the Seraphites. Like, that's what season 3 is going to be, right?
Yeah.
So maybe some of that could be cool. I don't know, but I'm not particularly optimistic of that. But yeah, it's unfortunate that they didn't take any feedback from the poor reception of the game and just applied it. And they didn't take any of that feedback and they just did the same thing. It's unfortunate.
Yep.
And if anything, made it worse.
Yes.
Because from my understanding, Ellie's a better character in the game than she is in the...
She is. And so is Abby.
In either game than she is in the show. So
yes. And so is Abby, by the way. Abby, she comes off obviously as Rambo, but when you actually get to her story and the stuff that happens, there's nuance. And Grinder, you can do that in a video game, but also I feel like you can do nuance a little bit better in a TV show because you don't have to intersperse with action playing moments. Like if you're actually trying to do the thing, you can show a nuanced perspective, especially over 7 hours of television. Come on. You could give me an Ellie nuance a little bit more. And by the way, they probably could have made 4 episodes out of this season and it would have been fine. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know. I'm not optimistic about the next season. I think this show is. Did you ever watch Family Guy?
Sure, here and there.
In Family Guy, at the end of one of the episodes, the main 4 guys, they're trapped in a beer vat of Pawtucket Patriot, and they're drowning. And Quagmire asks Peter about about movies or something like that, and somebody brings up The Godfather, and Peter,
sure, I've seen it's Peter, The Family. I've seen this. This clip.
And he says, I hate that movie. It insists upon itself. and he repeats it. It insists upon itself.
It's a good line.
It's a good line. And I feel like this season of television has insisted upon itself. It has just constantly, it's a snake eating its own tail. It is everything, in my opinion, that is wrong with Hollywood. It is not everything. It is a lot of things that are wrong with Hollywood. It is a lot of things that are wrong with HBO. HBO can put out bangers every now and then, but then they go off and do something stupid like this and then change their name again. They went from HBO to Max, now back to HBO Max. Like, what are we doing? They're going to have Discovery shows. They're not going to have Discovery shows. We're going to just can an entire movie to take the tax write-off. Like, it's everything that is wrong with Hollywood, and it is why you're seeing in my opinion, you're seeing the rise of indie studios again. A24 is technically not an indie studio, but stuff like a little more art house. But it's why freaking people are just watching YouTube. It's why people just watch YouTube for their entire lives, because it's like, yes, there's money there, but you're a little bit more connected to the creators. This just seems like it's just people just living in ivory towers and just saying like, I don't know, this seems good. Let's make this for TV. Give me all of your money.
I think it's just arrogance. I think Neil Druckmann just is real big on himself as a storyteller and as a writer and himself. Sure. And I think he just refused to take any kind of criticism and chalked it up to bigotry or something, because there was a lot of controversy around Abby in the game. So I think the criticism of the game was probably just lumped into that kind of category, when I think there was a lot of legitimate criticism, and seeing the show, there clearly was a lot of legitimate criticism. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
I'm glad we don't have to watch this anymore.
So see you in 4 years to season 3.
Yep. You and I will break down season 3.
Season 8 of the Roundtable.
We'll have many more brackets at that point. Hopefully we have like a couple better shows to talk about, a couple of better movies to talk about. We're moving into summer programming, so we're Templar and I are going to be shifting some things around. We've got a couple of ideas.
I'm watching Murderbot, and that's okay, but it ain't
it's not
blowing my socks off. It's fine. It's not blowing my socks off though.
No. Did you make it through all 3 of the episodes yet?
Yeah, I watched all 3, and then episode 4 came out on Friday, so I watched that.
I haven't even watched that yet. Okay.
It's building out a bit of a mystery type of thing. It's okay. The tone of it I'm not super into, and I think doesn't work as well in television as it probably did in the book. So I think that's a bit of a problem, but it's okay. It's something to watch. I was looking for something to watch, and it is technically a television show. So. It
is a television show. We finished Handmaid's Tale. My wife and I finally finished season 6. There's a bit of a denouement there, but
yeah, my wife and I are in the middle of season 4 currently.
Oh, you're motoring. You're cruising. Yeah, you've got some interesting things to go through. Season 5 is interesting. Season 6 is not bad. Season 5 is interesting. I do have to say I do not like it when what's her name, Elizabeth Moss, when she starts taking over producing, the tone shifts a little bit, and you can definitely tell in the artistry. they become really enamored with their overhead drone shots. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, the first 4 seasons, I can tell you they're a big fan of 2 things. Extraordinarily long pauses when people are asked questions or asked to do anything. And then people just stare for much longer than would be reasonable, or are asked questions of significant consequence that it seems like it would be a problem to take a long time to answer, but then they still just stare at the person for like 45 seconds before they answer. And extreme close face shots. Up close shots on people's faces.
That doesn't go
away. Big
away.
fan of those 2 things in terms of the like cinematography and the production of the show.
And not only are they extreme close up, but it's like slow motion close up, so everything gets that smooth, dreamy quality. That doesn't go away. In fact, that only gets a little bit worse. And the drone shots are cool. Like they do these drone shots that make it look like the original GTA game. I don't know if you ever played that overhead Grand Theft Auto game. It makes it look like that. So you see like bodies not moving, but just kind of legs. Like that looks pretty cool. But like there are so many close-ups of June, especially in this last season, and she's pregnant, but nobody knows that. Like, she's not pregnant in the show, she's pregnant in real life, so that's not a spoiler. And so it's a lot of like shoulders up or her wearing black in black backgrounds so that you can't actually see that she's like 6 months pregnant, and then
they have to shoot around it,
and then all of a sudden in one episode her face is thin again, and it's like, okay, so she had the baby. Like, cool, that happens. Like, I get it. I totally get it. All right, this is not the Handmaid's Tale. Anything else before we close up shop here on this terrible season of television?
No, it's fine. It's done.
Thankfully.
Go watch something else. Go see if reruns of Dr. Quinn are on.
That's a great show.
I never watched it. I only saw scattered episodes when I was younger. But yeah,
when you were sick, I stayed home from TV or from school
or something. Gilligan's Island, like reruns, back in the day.
Gilligan's Island is a little problematic, but other than that, it's perfectly
better
fine.
than this.
And on that note, with that truth, Templar and I are going to close up shop. Make sure to stay tuned for our summer programming here on the Roundtable. We love you. Goodbye.
See you.